Hello and welcome back to the Bygone Times. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to take a double shot of collecting history through a quick tour of this book by Wilfred R. Cohen. It's entitled Wave Crest, the Glass of C.F. Monroe. So back in the old days of collecting and different hobbies, so I'm talking about the 1980s, 1990s, books like this were gold for collectors who were trying to learn about any particular area of collecting. There were books that were general, kind of like Koval's Antiques. There was the Antique Trader paper. If you went into any shop or mall, you were likely to see a book rack full of books dedicated to certain topics, or, like I said, more general antique collecting. This particular one is dedicated to Wave Crest, or the Glass of C.F. Monroe. So Charles F. Monroe was C.F. Monroe. He opened a glass shop in 1880 in Meriden, Connecticut. And he was primarily interested in decorating glass. And so he would get glass blanks from other companies of the time, including, the standards like Pearpoint, Mount Washington, Smith Brothers, those types, and he would decorate them. It didn't take long before he kind of developed his own style and wanted to branch out on his own. So he opened a glass decorating studio, and then eventually started the C.F. Monroe Glass Company. Again, he continued to be focused on decorating, and the primary line of his company was Wave Crest, which also included Nicara and Kelva. We won't get too much into that today because we're going to look at the book a little bit more. But Monroe was really into the decorating, and so he would order his blanks and eventually his glass blanks, and eventually he started coming up with designs even for the blanks that he would custom order from different places. And so the Helmschmidt swirl is one that he patented, and billowware, also known as the egg crate or puffy pattern, was almost exclusive to Wave Crest and C.F. Monroe. That's probably enough about him for right now, and Wave Crest in general. Let's just take a quick look at this book. So it has kind of, typical. It has a cover, glossy paper cover, with a matte finish hardcover inside. This one is actually signed by the author, Wilfred R. Cohen, on September 18th in 1987. And he, goes here about the decorated opal ware, which is basically the milk glass that C.F. Monroe would acquire and then decorate, which included turning it into acid glass by subjecting it to various forms of, I think it was hydrofluoric acid, to kind of pit the surface and give it a satiny finish. But he goes through that. And we see the title plate, and then here we can see it was copyright 1987, so whoever attained this from Mr. Cohen got it right away. Probably he was doing maybe a signing at an antique show or something like that. Cover price was $29.95, and you could buy it directly from the publisher, Collector's Books, which was, I think, a division of Schroeder, maybe. Let's see, somewhere, I think it says that. Yeah, division of Schroeder Publishing. So $30, and then $1 for shipping and handling. Seems like a deal on the shipping and handling front today. They were in Paducah, Kentucky. I don't know if they're still there or not. You can find this book at least occasionally online in places like Amazon or eBooks, and it's, depending on what condition and when and where you find it, it can run anywhere from $7 to $25 or $30, which is, again, a pretty good deal compared to the original cover price of $30 almost 40 years ago. But most of this information that's contained herein is also available online for free. So the world's changing, but it's still kind of nice to have a book in your hand and be able to read about the history. We won't look at every page or anything, but there's Charles Fabian Monroe, C.F. Monroe. Talks about what he was doing before he started his glass company and started producing Wave Crest. Wave Crest probably had its heyday about this time in the 80s, maybe the early 90s, and many pieces were going for quite a bit of money, hundreds to thousands of dollars for some of the more unique pieces. I think a lot of the significance of the glass line has been lost today. And so along with that, some of the value that is attached to these pieces. Now you can see some of the marks that you would find on the glass. So usually it would be, if you had maybe a vase or something, you turned it over on the bottom. One of these would be stamped on it. Sometimes it would be on the side. Sometimes it would be almost like an acid mark, so you would have to hold it to the light just right to see the mark. At some point we'll look at a couple of live pieces of Wave Crest so you can see what they look like. I'll show you a couple of pictures here. This is the egg crate here. These are ferners or ferneries, so these are, you would put ferns in them, basically, is the idea. Some vases. There's a whisk broom holder. These were always very popular at antique shows in the 80s and so forth. So this book is pretty loaded with pictures and identification. We get a little bit of the other lines that I mentioned. So let's see. I think these are Nicara, which are colored, colored blanks and some kind of painted pictures. And then Kelva, so I can find a quick example, is a little more out there, kind of has some, I don't know, almost like a distressed or tie-dyed look, and oftentimes geometric patterns to it. Then it just goes on and gives more. Most of this is, identification. It's a kind of a wow type of a book, so definitely worth a pickup if you can find one and are at all interested in the art glass of the Victorian era. Wave Crest and C.F. Monroe were heavyweights of the genre and worth your time to look at. So thanks a lot. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.